Hi, it's Tim Hagen from Progress Coaching, and welcome to another episode of Coaching Conversations. And I wanted to make you aware of something very cool that we're doing on a subscription basis, and we'll put a link in each one of our episodes. But every Wednesday, we're going to be doing what we call an audio podcast workshop. That workshop will be roughly about 14 to maybe 20 minutes per episode, with each month having a theme from a coaching model, using feedback strategically, to coaching self-awareness, and so on. So if you could look in the body or in the content description of each episode, and you will see a link where you can join this subscription. These are literally 4 workshops every month teaching specific strategies to address a particular area of workplace coaching as it relates, again, to things like awareness, motivation, teamwork, and what have you. Here's the cool thing. It's only $10 per month, and each month you will get a handout that we will follow along with. So we also give you a tool for you to take notes as we go through each episode. We hope you'll check it out. The following is actually from a LinkedIn event we did where we actually took live questions from the audience. So during the 2/3 or towards the end of the broadcast, you're going to hear some dead air because it did not record the people's questions that we allowed on live. But this presentation was done on LinkedIn Audio Live, and it was done for the sole purpose of teaching how to motivate. So there'll be a little bit of a gap after this recording, and then you will hear the actual live broadcast. Percent of the people said they were highly self-aware. When she tested them, she found out only 10% were, meaning 85% of people lack self-awareness. Most people don't even know what motivates them. 76% of people are at their most motivated state according to the progress principle. A study done at Harvard with Teresa Amable, a professor there, 76% said they're at their most motivated state when they are progressing and improving in their job. The last one from the Gallup organization, 8-to-1 ratio. People will engage 8 times more when we lead with strength-based things than negative or constructive things. If that resonates with you, give me a thumbs up, which is in the lower right-hand corner. You'll see a react button. Give me a thumbs up if that resonates with you, and then we will get into today's topic. Now, for some of the guys, oh, sure, Michael and Raymond want to ask already. You picked the wrong button. So, today, I'll take questions at the end if you could. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about coaching to motivate. For those of you who did not get the agenda, which we sent out to everybody as of, I think, 2 days ago. Number 1, I'm going to talk about why motivate and the different levels of motivation. Number 2, the love, like, dislike conversation model. Number 3, how to coach to career development using a whiteboard coaching technique. How to coach also, number 4, to discover motivation. So number 1, why motivate? Since the pandemic, everybody, people have lost their motivation. People have lost their motivation. Think about it. People, moms and dads, we went from, my kid's going to be on the bus. We have enough bandwidth at home for homeschooling. People weren't thinking about their careers. So in the last 2 years, we've kind of lost a little bit of leverage in our own momentum in our careers. Yet it is incumbent upon us as leaders who lead that discussion. So I'd love to have you write this down and tell me if it resonates with the thumbs up. If it doesn't resonate, don't give me a thumbs up. Do not try to motivate anybody. Do not try to motivate anybody until you first understand what motivates them. Do not try to motivate anybody until you first understand what motivates them. So Brian, if you're coaching me and you're saying, Tim, I really want you to do X, Y, Z, you can become a future team leader at our company. What if I don't want to go into leadership? Even though Brian's intentions are good, the fact of the matter is his intention is out of alignment with what I want. So what we have to do, everybody, is understand that people have different levels of motivation. So I want you to think about two different types of motivation: coaching to the job and coaching the person to do the job. I want you to put that on the shelf for a second. Now I'm going to talk about different levels of motivation. Number one, someone who is intrinsically motivated is somebody who currently loves their job. So if Melissa, who loves her job at her credit union, is coaching and mentoring and doing all the things that she loves, which she does, and somebody comes up to her and says, "Oh, I've got an opportunity for you," and it's not what she loves, and she doesn't want to leave her current position, even though someone's really reaching out and saying, I can take you to the next level. She's intrinsically motivated. She loves what she's currently doing. Someone who's extrinsically motivated, like Madonna, you're motivated because you see what you're currently doing as an apparatus for something next. Neither is good or bad. It just represents different levels of motivation. So think about that just for a second. If someone is intrinsically motivated versus extrinsically motivated, do you know that with your people? Let me give you a great quick story. I have a friend who's a graphic designer, and her company came to her and said, "We want to make you a manager." They were very worried about losing her. She had been in the same job for 10, 11 years. And here's the funny thing: she's an introvert, one of the most creative people I've ever seen in terms of design. So as her ownership was approaching her, it was a small advertising agency. She called me and she said, "Geez, I think I need to look for a job." I said, "Why?" "Well, they want to promote me." "I don't want to do people management." And I said, "Well, why wouldn't you tell them that?" And here's the funny thing, people. If we don't know what motivates our people, our gestures are good, our intentions are good. Now, if we're not coaching and not scheduling time, silence becomes very loud. So the fact of the matter, guess what happened? The ultimate objective was is they wanted to promote her. They wanted to reward her, but it was out of alignment with their understanding of who she was. I said, "Look, don't do that." I said, "Go to them and say, look, I appreciate the opportunity. Yet I don't think that's in my sphere of what I want to do right now." So ironically, her friend got the job, who she's a better graphic designer than. I said, "Well, now you've got an opportunity. You've got to support your friend who wanted the job." So what happened is she was ready to leave the company. She wasn't mad at the company, but she was uncomfortable saying no. So when you're motivating, find out what motivates them. Number two, how is their motivation in alignment with their current job duties? Don't coach to the job. Coach initially the person doing the job. Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense to everybody. Awesome. So now, here's the big thing that I love to teach, the love, like, dislike. I want you to take a piece of paper and I want you to draw a line down the middle. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a deviation of what I'm going to teach next, which is coaching career development using a whiteboard coaching strategy. Okay. When you draw this line down the middle on the left, I want you to put current state. What is their current state? Right side is going to be their future or futuristic state. So I'm going to sit down with Michelle and I'm going to sit down with Michelle and I'm going to say, Michelle, as it relates to your current job, where you currently sit today, what do you love? What do you like? What would you dislike? What would you like to get rid of if you had your chance? And you're going to get a synopsis. You're going to get an illustration of where Michelle's at currently. Now, if she can't answer questions around what she loves and likes, well, okay, she's probably not in the right seat. Or if she can answer in all three, it gives you a glimpse of what she likes and dislikes. Then you go to the futuristic side of the page and say, "Michelle, what would you love to be doing that you're not doing now? What would you like to be doing more of that you're currently doing that you'd like to do more of in your next position, whatever that might be? And what would you like to avoid? What do you dislike that you just don't want to do anymore?" So the love, like, and dislike are driven by people's emotional responses. When we have an emotional response, we tend to get closer to what? What motivates them? See, have you ever asked somebody a question where I go up to Lisa and say, "Lisa, what do you like about your job?" And they immediately start to tell you what they don't like? That's the reason I love that questioning model. So it's a sheet of paper, you fill it out. Now, keep in mind, you're going to have more than one response for each one of those love, like, and dislike. You're going to have multiple responses, right? So think about that as you're going forward and you're having those conversations with people. Because when you find out what someone loves, don't ask them to change it. So my friend, the graphic designer, I said, "What do you love about your job?" She says, "I love collaborating with my clients." I said, "I love it. I live for it." I said, "Well, what would happen to that if you became manager?" She said, "It would be almost absolved. 80% of the job was management, reviewing internal graphic designers' work." She didn't want to do it. Think about that mistake for a second. So now when you think about what motivates someone, number one, remember, find out what motivates, then find out what you need to do to motivate specific to the job. Now, if you understand what motivates, you've got a leverage point, and I'll teach you that here in a second. You can find this out by asking the love, like, dislike conversation model. And those are the first two items we wanted to teach you today. So, do me a favor. Give me thumbs up if that resonates so far. And we've got 20 minutes to go. Awesome. So I'm going to wait to let people speak, Sylvia. So if you could put your hand down, I'm going to wait till the end if that's cool with you. So with that being said, when we go to the next, I want you to write down on a piece of paper 3 columns. Column 1, column 2, and column 3. This is a visualization technique. And Melissa, you already know what this is, don't you? Give me a thumbs up. Melissa works at one of our client sites, so I'm calling her out in front of all you people. So when you write down the columns, it's a little bit similar to the love, like, or dislike. The first column is the current state. Then you go to column 3, and it's the ideal or futuristic state. And then column 2 is the actions. So when we're having these conversations, and I sit down with Charlie and I said, "Okay, Charlie, in terms of where you see yourself today, what do you like about your current job? And where do you feel like you have strengths? And where do you feel like you have opportunities to grow?" And then I might say, "Well, Charlie, let's go over to column 3. Now, keep in mind, everybody, this is either a physical whiteboard. This is either a physical whiteboard or a digital whiteboard. Here's why. Remember that 95% number. I'm going to come back to it. They are looking at the whiteboard, whether physical or digital. There's a reason for that, okay? The reason being is they need to look at something, okay? So the greatest thing about self-awareness is most of us don't look in the mirror. The whiteboard becomes their mirror. Guess who's driving the illustration or the picture in the mirror? Not you, they are. So when I sit down with Charlie and say, currently, what are your strengths? What are your areas of opportunity? And you're writing down the responses in column 1. You're going to get a pretty robust set of bullet items to put in that column. Then what you do is something called a psychological interrupt, because typically we go from left to right. You go all the way over to column 3. And then you say, "So Charlie, ideally, where would you like to end up? What would you be doing? Is it a job type? Is it a job function? Is it a title? Is it something you've explored?" And you create an illustration of where they want to end up. I just got off a call with two clients yesterday, and what they were talking about were new managers, people who wanted to go into management. And they got to the management position and they weren't prepared for it. Why? Because we didn't have these type of conversations before they became managers. So when you get to column 3 and you get a picture, a synopsis, an illustration of where they really want to end up. And oh, by the way, they may not know all the answers. This may take 1 or 2 conversations. You then go back to column 2 and say, "Charlie, what do we need to do together as a collective team to move in the direction of column 3? Why would you do that? Do you know why? She's co-authoring her change. She's looking in the mirror, which is the whiteboard. And guess what? Give me a thumbs up if you agree with this. Most people don't like change. Most people don't like change, right? So guess what happens when you don't like change? You don't pursue it. Yet if you can see what's possible, it's a visualization technique. If you see what's possible and there's a map to get there, they're more willing to go. Here's the hidden secret. Most people will not pursue change unless somebody goes with them. So column 2 is, Charlie, what do we need to do together to move in that direction? What would you like from me? What are the first 3 things you'd like to do on an ongoing basis where we can pursue your dream of becoming whatever that might be? That is whiteboard coaching. It's very similar to the love, like, and dislike, which you can use the love, like questions at the current and ideal state if you want. It's up to you. So we blend a lot of models here at Progress Coaching. So what we've gone through for so far is, why do we motivate? Different levels of motivation, intrinsic versus extrinsic, coaching to the job, coaching the person to do the job. Then we talked about love, like, dislike conversation models. And then we gave you a 3-column approach called career development using a whiteboard coaching technique. Why did we do this? Now, remember, most people lack self-awareness. 95% of the people in Tasha Urich's studies said what? They were highly self-aware. When she tested them, only 10 to 15% were. So guess what happens? Most people are not going to seek change on their own. Most people are not going to seek the difficult tasks to take them from A to B to C to D or whatever it might be, because why? It's hard, it's difficult. And they may not know how to do it. So guess what people do? Do they pursue those challenges, and how to? Do they give up? They typically give up. That's why coaching is so paramount. That's why understanding what someone's motivation, why it's so critical. So Jawatar, I'm not taking questions just yet. If you could put your hand down, just so you know, I'm not ignoring you. And so when you think about coaching, okay, we have to really drive those conversations. Here's the funny thing. A lot of people have lost sight of what motivates them. A lot of people have lost sight of where they want to take things. So how do you go about how to coach to discover motivation? How do you discover motivation? I'm going to say something that's going to be really condescending, and I hope it doesn't come off the wrong way. Ask them. So, Brian, where do you want to end up? What do you want to do? Thanks, Madonna. Audrey, where do you want to go? Heather, what are 3 things you'd love to be doing that you're not doing now? Raquel, what are 2 things you'd love to do in your ideal state? When would you like to get there? David, what are 3 things that you love to do on a day-to-day basis that you're not doing enough? My buddy Aaron, what do you want to do with your leadership programs? And what do you want to do with your career at XYZ company? Jason, oh, there's an old buddy. What do you want to do with your career that maybe you're not doing now? Just ask people. Now, the other thing that you can do is, my friend Tammy is on, which I just saw. Hi, Tammy. The challenge we also have is we tend to think it's not our responsibility. Well, that's the training department or that's the HR department. No, it's not. The conversations you're having with your people are vital to their career development. You help someone discover their passion, guess what happens? They love you for life. So what we have to do is have these conversations with futures in mind. So when you ask about motivation, ask people, what do you love to do? And I've shared this story before. I'll never forget this. I have a manufacturing client, had a guy in the shop floor, supervisor, good leader, by the way. And he's having these conversations with HR. And they're basically saying he's kind of stalled in his career. He looks like he's lacking motivation. He doesn't seem to care. Boy, give me a thumbs up if you agree with this. We tend to judge and label people quickly. We tend to judge. Thanks, Lori. We tend to judge and label people. It just doesn't seem like he cares as much anymore. And so I asked someone, I said, what do you mean he doesn't care? Well, it's the way he walks. I said, the way he walks, huh? So I sat down with this guy and I said, so what do you love about your job? He goes, it's a job. I said, what would you like to be doing now that maybe you're not doing? I can't really think of anything. 25 to 30 minutes went by and I could not crack this guy. Then I deviated the conversation, and this is where coaching conversation skills come into play. I said, what do you love to do outside of work? He said, oh, I love to work on race cars. I said, race cars? He said, yep. I said, wow. I said, why? And he goes, well, I'm a mechanic. I work in the crew pit of a professional race car driver. I said, wow, what I didn't know you did that. I said, that's kind of cool. I said, what do you love about it? He goes, I get to work with my hands. And the door opens up. And I said, how do we get that person to come back to work? He said, what do you mean? I said, well, we have all these jobs open in maintenance that would be working with your hands. And he said, yeah, I'd love it. But Tim, I can't take a step back. I'm a single dad with 3 kids. I can't afford the pay decrease. Now, anybody like Lori and Tammy and Aaron already knows, and my friend Michael knows what I did. I got a big mouth. I went right to HR and said, is there something we can do? So I got his permission and we created a hybrid position. He's a supervisor of the maintenance department. And I said, well, how long have you felt this way about your job? It's a job. He goes, about 4 years. So why didn't you say anything? He said, nobody asked me. That's why we coach. So number one, find out what motivates people, but people are motivated by different things. They're motivated by what they're currently doing as well as what they ideally would like to be doing. Number two, ask questions around the current and ideal state around love, like, and dislike. It doesn't solve anything. It doesn't paint a perfect picture. It might even feel like a collage in the beginning. But ultimately, what happens is we tend to have better conversations and better insight to who people are. And when you use the whiteboard coaching, which is a little similar to the love, like, and dislike, what it does is it gives us a representation. It gives us a representation and a visual representation of where somebody is and, more importantly, where they want to go. Here's the coolest thing when you conduct these sessions. And Melissa, give me a thumbs up and so everybody can see it. I think you've conducted these with your people and they've been beneficial. When you're having these conversations, they don't feel like you're asking them questions. What they feel like they're doing is they're filling up the whiteboard. Guess what the whiteboard is? It's a picture of their future. Let me know if you like that technique. Give me a thumbs up. And Aaron, if you want to send me a heart, that'll be great. The wrong Aaron sent it to me too. And here's the funny thing. When you're having these conversations with people, careers are personal. People have lost sight of their careers and motivations, everybody. When people find their motivation and you help them, you became one of the toughest leaders in the world to quit on. Think about that. If Brian is my coach and he knows where I want to go with my career, and all of a sudden I come into work one day or I go to the post office and there's a book from Brian on the topic that I want to pursue or the area I want to pursue, Brian just became a really tough leader to quit on. See, when you know somebody's motivation, everybody, it creates emotional leverage. Now, you're not emotional manipulation. It creates emotional leverage. So when I'm coaching Charlie, who handle conflict better, and let's say that's an area, Charlie, you need to improve, I might say, well, Charlie, think about becoming really good at conflict resolution and how that will help you becoming a future supervisor XYZ company. And let's say that that's Charlie's goal. See, when you tie current performance opportunities with what motivates somebody, guess what happens? Their emotional attachment to this thing called change readily increases. It becomes better. It becomes more plausible to pursue it because there's the WIFT, WIIFT. What's in it for them? So think about that just for a second. Now, before I open it up for questions, let me just throw something out to everybody. If you're intrigued by what we're doing here, we do this as Melissa, you are one of the people. Aaron, you are one of the people, the other Aaron. If you're interested in hearing more about our coaching pods, just click on my name. We do these type of sessions for 90 minutes, 3 times a month, and we train you on how to become a great leadership coach. If you're interested in learning about coaching pods, just click on my name, put coaching pods in the subject line or in the body. Please do not ghost me. I'm not going to send information and chase people. If you're not interested, don't contact me. But if you're interested, click on my name and just send me a message and say coaching pods. We'll send you information. It's a little bit of a sales pitch, but this is what we do 2 to 3 times a month. And we help leaders become great coaches. We invest in people on an ongoing basis, which is a combination of live sessions like this, but more using Zoom, and then ultimately having conversations around what you are trying to achieve with your team or your subordinates or the people that you need to coach in your organization. So I'll take some questions, but if anybody is interested, again, just click on my name, the host. A message box will open up. Send me a message saying coaching pods. I'll know it's in reference to this. Oh, awesome, Lori. And that will be one of the things that we can send out to you, and then we will be happy to help you. So let me know if you have any questions. Just raise your hand. I will turn on your mic. Make sure that your mic is ready. Some people never ask questions. So again, I would go back to more than anything, motivation is probably the biggest thing in my estimation. For me, I think it is the biggest thing that we need to do with our people this year. Career development. When you look at that McKinsey, 4 out of 10 people, we need to coach to what motivates people. I promise you, you have people who have no idea what motivates them. They will love you, appreciate you because you're willing to explore it. We need to get people reconnected with their own motivation. Okay. So think about that as you go forward. So if you're intrigued, think about coaching pods and send us an information. So I'm going to, Sebastian, open up your mic. What's your question? Oh, from someone above you? Oh, I want to make sure I understand your question. What's that? Oh, okay. I will get you the information. So the other thing I would share with all of you is when you find out what motivates somebody, everything becomes easier. Change, everything becomes more plausible. Difficulties, challenging times. When you tie your conversations to what somebody wants, it's a game changer. And it starts with motivation. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, if you're interested in coaching pods, it's PODS. I talk fast. I will be happy to get you the information. It's a very fun community. It's a combination of training, support, assessment tools, all sorts of things. We'll get you information. So just click on my name. And, when we think about coaching pods, it will give you an opportunity to really expand your leadership coaching. Here's the cool thing, the people that are in the community are fun. Melissa, if you agree, because you've been in there, send a thumbs up. It's a really fun session or fun group. Alexa, you're on. Did you have a question, Alexa? Yes, I can. An outside coach? Sure. Oh, you mean people underneath you? Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's why I was asking the questions. I love that you said that. So one of the things that you could do is certainly, I'm going to give you really weird advice. I see from your profile you're in the HR field. So one of the things that you could do, and this is going to sound really weird, but be a little bit dumb and clumsy, and saying, Kamel, what do you think we need to do to develop more of our talent? What do you think our leaders need to do more of? And you almost kind of plant the seeds, right? And you'll see where it grows with people. I also think that when you talk about coaches and getting people to become coaches, I would go on a one-to-one basis and say, when you hear coaching, what goes through your mind? How do you think it would benefit you? I would do it below and above you, but I think when you're above you, obviously you want to be a little bit more pulled back because I don't know your political pitfalls in your company. I would research that from a standpoint on a conversation by conversation basis. Now, if you're trying to set up an organizational approach, that's different. A lot of organizational approaches are really successful when you start in small groups or cohorts, if you will. And I think that's the thing I would do, because I think when you first asked the question, I thought it was about an outside coach, which I'm not against, but I worry about outside coaches coming into an organization where the leader should really be coaching his or her employees. Does that make sense? Awesome. Sure. Lillian, you're on. Go ahead, Lillian. Yep, yep, love it. I'm going to be recording this session, Lillian, so it'll be up on my podcast, which I'll be sending to everybody. And and that'll have the 3 strategy. Sure, no problem. So everybody, I'm going to conclude there unless there's other questions. So again, reach out if you're interested in really becoming a great leadership coach. Put in the subject line coaching pods, click on my name, send me a quick message. We will get you information. Give me some feedback. Thumbs up, laughing, clapping, heart. Of course, you can't send anything nasty, so I guess that's good news. And there's my friend Gail. How are you, Gail? Everybody have a great weekend and have a great Friday. And I hope this was helpful. Reach out to us if you have any questions, everybody. Talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to another episode of Coaching Conversations by Tim Hagen and Progress Coaching. Now, our company is always coming out with new and innovative solutions to help leaders coach their employees. And recently, we just created a new service called Coach to You, where leaders can pick and choose topics and assign 7 to 21 day programs for employees to learn and, more importantly, apply actions and then reflect and share what they're going to do going forward as a result of the learning. It's called Coach to You. We're literally bringing coaching to your employees. If you're intrigued, we'll have a link in each one of our episodes where you can get more information. And again, thank you so much for listening to another episode.